Now, of course, our next speaker is going to be Master Specialist for PI and CS Engineering at 3M, and of course, William Cotter. Please welcome him warmly to the stage. Hey, William.
Thank you. Is this on now? Is that, yeah, okay, now I can hear it. Okay, and where's the clicker? Yeah, thank you. All right, I practiced this for 2 weeks, I think, so. Assalamu ala elkim. Kum, right? God, I didn't even get it right. So I'll promise not to abuse your language anymore. I'll stick with my own. But I certainly do appreciate being here, and I've had a wonderful time and found the hospitality just outstanding. All right, well, I'm Bill Cotter, and I am here not for my company, 3M, but I am representing ISA, which is the International Standards Association, because I work on a committee that does patch management, which is probably not the most exciting topic you're going to hear in this conference. In fact, working on standards can be one of the most boring things and tedious things you can do. Now, I've got a lot of slides. I have one PowerPoint I gave for sharing to the conference, which has more slides than I've got in this deck. And so I know I'm probably not going to get done in time. But what I want to let you know that I'm available at any time for discussion on the topic of this or anything else you want to talk about cybersecurity, because I have slightly different opinions than some other people that may be around, because I am an end user. I am not representing, selling anything. So I thought you should know a little bit about me. And my name is Bill Cotter, and I've been working 40 years, so I'm old. I am a rocket engineer, so I got my degree in aerospace engineering. Whoa, I did it. I promised I wouldn't, but I learned how to do it. So I am a mechanical engineer because that's what I sold myself as when I couldn't get a job in aerospace when things were tight. Then I went to maintenance. So I had to learn a lot of skills, and I learned how to do instrumentation. And then I worked in a pharmaceutical firm where we took human blood and broke it into different proteins. So I worked in that area for a while and had to buy all sorts of things. Then I became a control systems engineer for 3M because I owned a personal computer, TRS-80 Model 1. So I taught myself a lot about computers via that. Then I got involved in something called MS-MUG because as control systems people, we wanted to use computers to make things more efficient. Well, some of us wanted to make sure that we got Microsoft-type devices because they had a great flight simulator and they were great for gaming. So we kind of drifted towards using Microsoft as opposed to some specialized or different operating systems, and we got what we asked for, and we were sorry. And so then we worked with Microsoft to try to improve the Microsoft operating system in the industrial environment. And I started working with a number of other companies in this area. And that drifted into working with ISA 99, as we refer to it, or in the international environment, it's called IEC 62443. And I, in particular, took the MS-MUG information working on patching and moved it into the ISA 99 environment. So you know a little bit about me and my background. You need to know a little bit about my company so you understand where I'm coming from. It's a big company, and it's around the world. And we operate in sales in 200 countries, and we have operations in 65 countries. So not totally US-centric. We sell a lot of stuff. You guys buy a lot of stuff, and it's a phenomenal company. We have about 90,000 employees, and it says 55,000 products, but I don't know how many products we have. I don't know all the products, and I don't know all my plants. We have 220 manufacturing facilities in those 65 countries. And the products range from anything and everything you can think of. I badmouth IoT, or IIoT, quite a bit. I'm not sure where that's going to go and where that's going to take us and why I need to change what I have. But then I recently found out we sell traffic light systems that manage intersections around the world. And one of our big products is to take the data, put it in analytics, and then sell it back to the cities that have our traffic light systems. So we do make more than sandpaper and little yellow Post-it notes. We do have chemical facilities. We have exothermic reactors. We have refining type systems. We make high tension power lines. We make dental fillings. We make pharmaceutical type products. So it's the gamut. We get just an incredible range of products, and that's what makes it exciting to work for. The reason that's important to you is that, again, my perspective is not just narrow in the oil and gas. It covers a wide range of things you can do. Now, usually about this time, and I try to want people to understand that when talking about the IT and OT, my company never separated IT and OT. I fought that for a long time, and I guess it's now turning around where people are saying we need to work together. And we have found that we can't afford, we have to make money in the end. We're making money on a lot of inexpensive little things. So we can't afford to have the skill sets broken apart. Now, we also don't have as many sites where the safety critical systems are as important as maybe as some of your sites. But we do have a few, and we have found that we need to work very closely with IT. But you need to understand where the difference in IT and OT is, and I take a slightly different perspective on it than a lot of other people in talking about what is a month. I got really upset when I was told I had to change passwords every 30 days. What's 30 days? That's not a month. Who came up with that? Some credit card people that don't understand really what's going on. Because I want to write a work order for once a month, it needs to be once a month. It needs to be 31 days. It needs to be 35 days so I can actually work it into when the line is down. So when's a good time to make changes? It's certainly not on the weekend. It has to be on the second day after the weekend, which for me might be a Tuesday. For you, that might be a Monday. So it needs to be when we have people on site, not when nobody's on site. So, and we also do things in milliseconds as opposed to minutes. We talked about that earlier. Who is a user? User is not necessarily a defined person. The machine, I don't have sign-ins. I want them on all the time. I have rotating shift of people. I need to keep going. So we think a little differently on these things. An application is what's not necessary from a large corporation. I'm often being told that we need to make sure that we can patch things, and it's hard to get patches from somebody with only 5 or 6 people in the shop because they make a special instrument that is not readily available anyplace else that can do what I need to do. So it gives us different problems in the OT world. Vulnerability, for us, half the time, IT is yelling at me. I think it's a feature. When something plugs in and it works, I'm happy. And if they start getting in my way, I get upset. So we do have different discussions on that. The number one thing, and I'm sorry it's at the bottom of the page, is the word that I hardly ever see or never see on an IT presentation is safer or safety. And that's one thing that's really, really different about OT and IT. Because with OT, people can get hurt pretty quickly, and we always have to worry about that. So we always got to do is make things safer, and you can't make things safer unless they're secure nowadays. So, and one of the ways, we have to look at things. What's a computer? It's not always obvious in our world. The boxes that are computers are very different looking than from what IT sees. What's a supplier? Will they support the software? Doesn't always happen. The software is secondary to what it does. So I don't always get all excited about what it's written in or whatever else. It has to work a certain way. It has to perform. And when I'm told that you can replace that piece of software with something else, and that's not always true, we're stuck with what we get. When we get it, we have to live with it for a long time. So, all right. So sets the stage for who I am and why I think differently than the IT people who are out here. And I heard there's a lot of IT people, so I wanted to get that, make sure that we're in agreement as to why I don't like you, even though I have to work with you. Now we'll talk about the most boring part of my presentation, patch management. You know, working on standards is a terrible job, but I would like you all to volunteer to help and do it. I've been doing it for a long time, and the thing that most people miss when they think about standards is sort of what was brought up today about trying to be one step behind the people who are really, out there trying to, do bad things to our systems. The value of the standard is not waiting for a document to be finished that you're going to follow. The value of a standard is often talking to the people who are thinking about this topic, and you learn so much from the process. If you wait till it's published, you will be more than 10 steps behind the thief that's trying to use a drone to get into your plant. So you really should be involved, at least if not participating in creating the standard, you really want to get in there and at least review the preliminary documents. You don't have to join any organizations. You don't have to pay any money. These are all readily available. We are not doing this in secret to punish anybody by publishing these things. We really are trying to do what's best for the world. And it's a good chance to look at it and think about where you're going for systems. So now I've used up about half my time. I'll get into trying to show you a little bit about what the patch management part of the ISA 99, and I abbreviate it to ISA 99 just because it's faster. All right, so I've already kind of covered why it's important to me. Patching, just this morning I saw an article that said people are attacking fit devices by sending sound to them from very $5 speakers, and that they can cause the accelerometers to vibrate in a way that can make these hackable. So hopefully the company that makes this will come up with a patch and I need to patch it. So it is important to patch. I fully understand that, even though I say we can't always do it as easily as the IT people can do it. We created a technical report because we wanted to get something out. Preliminary, a lot of times people go right to a standard. We created a technical report so we could get out our ideas on why patching, how you should do a patching, how you should think about patching. People also, everybody in here is probably doing patching of some form or another on their lines, right? Why did we need to write something about patching? The reason we wanted to write something about patching is so that people who don't have a good relationship with their IT department or their management, who don't understand why you're not patching, you needed to have a document that you could point to say, this is what some really smart and old people have said about patching, and it gives you some things to think about on the whole concept of patching, because it's not as simple as you might hope it would be. So we talk about in the document, all the different aspects of patching, why some of the IT policies don't work, the importance of tracking patches, and to know what the history is. Just because a certain operating system vendor comes out with a patch doesn't mean you can apply it to your control system. You need to know where it comes from and whether or not they all work together. So, and then the patch management system, we kind of described the different steps you need to do and how to get started on a patch management system. The working group that I am involved with, and that's the way it's structured, you've got ISA 99, and then we have different working groups for different parts of the documents. And I have working group 6, and where we got the patch management. It was formed kind of a spin-off of MUG, so 2007. We have 500 members. Really impressive, right? At least that's what my mailing list says. I am generous by saying I have 10 active members, and the number of active members kind of rotates through, so a very small number of people are actually creating most of the work. And that's fine by me. It's really good, as I said. We move faster if very few people show up at a meeting. So it really helps, though, to have a larger audience to review what we think is right. And I cry a lot when people criticize what I've written, but I do get over it, and then we do take your feedback and we try to incorporate those things in, or we'll discuss why we think differently and how we do things. All right, so technical standards, why, the definition of what's going on. Again, I'm going to start to speed up here. So the key thing here is it applies to asset owners, to system integrators, people who are putting things in for me, and people who build the things that we buy. So we've tried to take the different perspectives. We don't just take it from one perspective. So we do try to take that into consideration. Of course, we want to make things better, the world wonderful, and all that kind of stuff. So we're providing the criteria for implementing, this secure systems, and try to make if people who need compliance, it gives them something to point to for the compliance. ISA 99, IEC 62443 is made up of 13 documents. Each document is probably over 100 pages or close to 100 pages. And it's broken up by the 4 different layers as you see it. The general section gets into definition. And to me, one of the most important things about working on a standards organization is getting the vocabulary correct. I just abuse some of the words that you commonly use, but you can't communicate unless you get those words right and where you can share the understandings that you have about what you're trying to accomplish. So we spend a lot of time talking about words and how those concepts are trying to be put out. ISA 99 is famous for zones and conduits. You look at your plants not as one large monstrosity. You take it in different sections. Which parts should be treated maybe a little more protectively than other areas. So you call those zones, and then you look at the conduits, how things connect together. So 99 gives a lot of thought to the philosophies of how things should be done. Then we get into the policies and procedures. The one with the red star around it is the one that I work on, Working Group 6 for patch management, but you can see there's a few other, and I don't know, that's an eye chart. So again, you'll get the presentations. And then there's the section on systems, how to set systems up, and then there's a section on what the vendors or components, how they should be built to make it easier to implement the rest of the security concepts. And as I said, terminology is one of the most important things to do. We argued a long time what to call a system. It sounds crazy, but you try to make sure that you're as broad as possible. Who is an asset owner? It's not just the person who bought the equipment, but it's really the concept of who is running the equipment also. And then the product supplier, is that the integrator that I got the equipment from, or is it the end vendor who made it, or is it the operating system person who they got it from? So we have to define all those features. All right, so in an ICS environment, we have to do the patches, and we talk about the different things that patching can cause problems. We know that. So we deal with the topics on that. So we talk about the different challenges, and of course there can be the problems. And I'm the first one, and it's hard. It's not easy. You just can't let things roll out once a month on Patch Tuesday. You really have to think about different systems and how you do it. It's risky. You can cause more problems. We've probably caused more problems just trying to do patching than we ever had from hackers. And it's just, and you have to do it. You can't ignore it. You've got to schedule some effort into this to make it happen. So it is necessary. And the increasing attacks, I guess the one thing that I heard a couple times, and I try to emphasize, I have been saying that there's very few terrorists in the world. There's more than I want, but there's a lot fewer than criminals. And we've had a grace period where there wasn't a lot of money in attacking our systems. Yes, you could get headlines, there could be political reasons to do it. But it scares me a lot more to know that there's criminals can make money by attacking my plants. And my management can understand that. And so we can do a lot more in hopefully moving things forward. If you're having trouble convincing management that this has to be done based on a theoretical threat from a terrorist, but to say that somebody can make money by attacking our systems, and I have to give them Bitcoin in order to get my company back, that seems like I'm really worried about that. I think this is a new era that we need to really prepare ourselves for. Or hopefully we've had a few years to do some right things, and if you haven't done it, you really should be worried. All right. Go to the patch management. We did a technical report. We are now working on a standard. The technical report was based on 3 sections. We have an information exchange model. If you don't have some way to track your patches, we have a suggested model. This used to be the heart and soul of what I really wanted to get out there, but it's difficult to find people to work on it, and I really could use help on getting this model more widely accepted. It's a concept where the patches will be pushed to me. Which patches are published will be pushed to me, and then I can use this system to have an inventory of my systems and what patches have been applied, what patches are approved, and which ones I can actually put into my systems. So we have that. We have the guidance for the asset owner, how to help you to make sure to evaluate what you've done. Are you doing the right things? Have you thought of all the right things? And then also some guidance for the vendors on how to build products that make them more easily patchable. So our current workload right now is we publish the technical report, so that's out. You have to buy that to read that now. But we are taking that document and we are making that a standard, which means we're going through and finding all the shalls. We're finding all the shoulds, you should do this, and changing that into shall. You have to do this. So we're looking through that. Right now we're going through and we're going to where we've used the words need to or must. So there's a technical report, there's a lower standard when you write it, what you say in it. And what we're trying to do is now look at the things that are really are essential to do, that you have to do, and then put shalls around those and do it. But the thing to think about is we don't want to over-shall things, especially as an end user. Maybe a vendor wants to put a lot of shalls in there so that they can build a product and I have to buy it and then I will be compliant. But the standard is not there to stop you from thinking. The standard is there to guide you. And the less shalls we have in there, hopefully you'll be more thinking of it, of what needs to be done. And also, we won't be so rigid that when things change and that thief now, instead of using drones, uses, transporters to take the chicken out of my yard, you can still look at the standard and think about how you should be protecting yourself against those things. So I don't want to be too rigid in creating a standard, and so that's the way I help drive it, my standard. And we have a lot of information in there that's not really about patching, but we do cover backup, and we do cover recovery. And those things are in the annex, so they're still there. And I think those are important to have in a patch management document, even though they're not technically patch. And so there's a lot of good advice in there. So I think it's a worthwhile read, obviously. So now what I had a number of slides, and I am just going to click through them because I'm watching the clock just roll down. And again, we go through a lot of definitions about even what a patch is. And the key thing to get out of these sets is that for us in our document, we are focused strictly on security patches, not general operating system patches or feature patches. So we want to make sure that everyone's doing it. Now, just because we focus on security patches doesn't mean our patch concepts don't apply to general purpose patching. So we do keep that in mind. And that's what the value of hearing people talk, creating standards, you get all that out of it. Each of the sections in our document do cover life cycle type thinking, where you have to gather information and to flow through all the different segments. And each process, even talking about when a patch is created or how it flows through the vendor, how it flows into your facilities. If you're an end user, we talk about that. We come up with, again, strict terminology. so that we try to, again, we can communicate properly on the different concepts we're doing. And then I'll just show this very quickly. We have an XML format for the exchange of information that could be based on, so that the vendors could push information to us, as opposed to us having to go to each of their websites and figure out whether or not the patches are valid and ready to be used. And validity of patching is a whole other thing. So again, you saw that life cycle, just gathering information, the different steps that we put into gathering information, we've got it. And I see I am out of time, and again, I apologize, but I'll let you know that I am available, for, at the rest of this conference, but also anytime I'll do my email or any ISA events, you can come up to me. All right. So